my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great.
Are you ready to wake your inner goddess? This is Dr. Noah, 1/3 of your BYWG team. I have an exciting announcement. The full Getting to Goddess program is on summer sale for only $147. That's a savings of over $500. The direct link to save will be in the show notes. Enjoy the podcast. Hello, loyal BYWG podcast listeners. This is Dr. Noah. We wanted to make you aware of our never-before-featured Book of the Month, Product of the Month, and our first-ever course, Certification of the Month, for July 2018. Please keep in mind all the links, discount codes, and special offers for the book, product, and course will be listed in the show notes in iTunes, in our weekly newsletter, and on our website at www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com at the Listen Now tab. Our book of the month is The Overfat Pandemic, Exposing the Problem and Its Simple Solution for Everyone Who Needs to Eliminate Excess Body Fat by Dr. Philip Maffetone. Our product of the month is the one and only Instapot. The Instapot Duo Plus 60 is a 6-quart, 9-in-1 multi-use programmable pressure cooker, slow cooker, rice cooker, yogurt maker, egg cooker, saute steamer, warmer, and sterilizer. Our certification course of the month is the Primal Health Coaching Program. As you know, both Dr. Mike and I are certified and love the course. The Primal Health Coach Program provides the most in-depth and up-to-date ancestral health education in the world, equipping you with an arsenal of well-informed alternative choices based on science and experience in order to best serve your clients' goals. Enjoy the upcoming podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. I am Dr. Wanda Lee McPhee, and I'm hosting this episode with my guest, Dr. Christine Sauer. Dr. Christine is a German-trained and board-certified physician, naturopath, dermatologist, allergist, nutritionist, gastrointestinal disease specialist, and a certified health coach. She has over 30 years of experience in the healthcare field, both traditional and complementary. She offers a unique and unified perspective of bringing those worlds together, conventional, alternative, naturopathic, functional, and integrative healthcare, and brings a step-by-step plan to get to the root of health issues that her clients face. So through her own journey, she has ended up here in Nova Scotia and also has a radio show that she shares here locally and has written a few books that we'll talk to as we get into our interview today. So her motto is, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for you too. And I think that's a pretty meaningful phase for Dr. Christine. So I'm going to let her take it away now and talk a little bit about how she came up with that particular motto and how she ended up here. Welcome, Dr. Christine.
Hi, Vandalie. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It's a nice time to be on a podcast again, and I love talking about everything.
Perfect.
So how did I come up with the light at the end of the tunnel? People have to understand that when you live in Germany or in Europe generally, and you go across the Alps, there are long, mile-long tunnels. When you go into one of those tunnels, it's absolutely dark. So you are in a very dark place going in there. You don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You have to trust that it's there, but at the moment you don't know. So at the end of the tunnel, it takes a sudden turn, and then the southern light greets you with their blaze and makes you feel good. That's where I have my motto from. That's what life is. When you're stuck in the dark, you don't see the light at the end. You feel you're stuck in there forever, hopeless. And I was there. I was at the utterless lowest point in my life before I came to Nova Scotia. And when I came here the first time, I was very depressed. And I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel then. Sadly, I tried to commit suicide. I'm glad I didn't. And I got the help I needed. I was very fortunate, and the health system treated me well. And over time, I met my dear husband, and with the help of all modalities of medicine, I found the way to, you could say, fix myself or get well again. and I met a wonderful man that I'm now living with for the last 20 years this year. And now I found the light at the end of the tunnel, but the sudden turn was there. And life has its sudden turns that we don't expect, and it's so important we go with them.
Mm-hmm. It is always, I think, really powerful for clients and for listeners on our podcast when they can hear from someone who's been on a similar journey. You know, obviously as healthcare professionals, we have a good understanding of different things, but to be able to have walked in those shoes and been where people are, I'm sure brings you another level of empathy and understanding when you're caring for people.
It definitely does. I mean, being a doctor in own office, you tend to see things from the top down. But and that's the reason I gave up my German office, my back gave out. I couldn't walk. I had to be bedridden in the hospital for a week. And bedridden, I mean not even to the toilet. And yes, it means peeing in the bed on the bedpan. And it's a very humbling and partially embarrassing experience. And to experience the descent from being a successful physician to a patient in a hospital, helpless, and eventually even a patient in a mental hospital here in Nova Scotia, was a transforming experience for me. And I have a very deep understanding of how those people feel, but also of the potential. Because at that point, I was miserable. And I could have ended up as a lost cause. But with all help pulled together and my will to change things, I got well again. And I found a way. And I'm happy, healthy, and work towards my life purpose. And it's possible. And that's what I want to tell my clients. Don't give up. There's a light at the end of the tunnel for you too.
Absolutely. That's one thing that sometimes certainly clients will come to me, and I know to other professionals as well, and say, well, you know, I was told that I'm just going to have to live with this, or this is just how it's going to be for the rest of my life. And not just in terms of physical, but also mental well-being. They're, you know, managing. But in your methodology, there's actual, you know, recovery and ways that you can rebuild from even a very low point like that. So why don't you walk me through a little bit of how you handle, you know, clients and the sorts of things that you think are really important?
I think it is very important first to give them the feeling, no, it's not your destiny. It's not your genes. Yes, there is genetic diseases that we can't change, but most of the diseases of our time are, as you know, epigenetic. It's a working together of the genes and the environment. So first you have to make the shift in your mind that you are not a victim to your disease, but you are the leader of your own life. And you need to be the best advocate for yourself and get all the help you can get to change the labels you have been given. I don't like the term diagnosis. For most diseases, it's not a good term, especially for chronic ones like fibromyalgia, depression, ADHD. It's just a label. It's just a summary of other things often. And it's not that you have to live with it for the rest of your life. If you really put your heart and mind to it and make the decision for change, things will happen. I believe in synchronicity. I became a very spiritual person. And I think things happen for a reason. And when I have a client, the first step is for them to see, oh, there may be a light at the end of the tunnel. I may not be able to see it right now, but maybe with some help I can get there. And it doesn't always have to be my help alone. I help clients often by doing a thorough assessment and then sending them to other practitioners that are specialists in their field. For example, chiropractors, acupuncturists, even dietitians. I have no problem to send them to a specialist, a doctor, suggest some lab test, a naturopath, whatever suits that client at this moment. And everybody is their specialist for their own body. I just give them a few hints, but the decision has to always be with the person.
Absolutely. And a lot of people are in a situation, especially with some of these chronic illnesses and challenges that people are faced with right now, where there isn't really one simple answer. These are very complicated things, and they've taken a very long time to get to this place where they now find themselves. So it would be reasonable to assume that there's more than one thing going on, and perhaps more than one thing that may need to change.
Exactly. And my picture that I have in my mind is a German picture, really. In Canada, we say the straw that broke the camel's back for something that triggers an event that we don't like often. In Germany, the picture is the drop that made the barrel overflow. So what I think in this point is everybody is born with a barrel of a certain size. That barrel has a spout of a certain size. Now, it is filled with your mother's nutrition, mother's genetics, and your forefathers to a certain level. Now, the environmental influences in our environment make it rain in that barrel. And your spout can be clogged by toxins and other things. Now, it is a balance between what comes in the barrel and what goes out of the barrel. And obviously, those people that are born with a large and empty barrel can get many more influences that are harmful in them before the barrel overflows, which is when they get symptoms of what we call disease, dis-ease, not feeling well, getting tired, and getting some of those ill-defined diseases like ADHD, fibromyalgia, or some mental health issues. And I feel instead of just mopping up the water with some conventional medications, which may be good in the beginning, you have to mop up to get to the barrel. We need to unclog the spout, reduce the rain, and if possible, drain it at some other ends to help get the barrel calm again. But as you said, it has been a long process to fill that barrel to the point where it overflows. And it takes a long time to reverse it.
I love that analogy. I use the drops in the bucket analogy myself quite often, but I think I like the barrel even better. So I might have to steal that one. I think that's a fabulous saying. And it really does help people to understand that health and illness are events. They're processes, and they're not a particular space and time, unless there's an acute injury. You know, if you're in a car accident, obviously that's an event as opposed to a process. But most of the chronic illnesses that we face and the things that really erode our well-being in the long run are processes that take over time. And you can almost envision when you think back to your own history, how your barrel has filled up, how different things have reigned in there, whether they be chemical things, maybe what you've been eating or what you've been putting in or on your body, maybe they've been physical things, maybe they've been mental things, and stress, of course, that's a common thing today. So all of those things are going in the same barrel. We don't have three barrels.
Exactly. And what I also feel is some barrels have a different size by birth. That's where the genes come in. Mm-hmm. And that's why some get their eczema or whatever allergies as children, and some can smoke, eat junk, and be in a stressful environment all their life, be 100 years old and still healthy. It's the size of the barrel we are born with.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. So when you are helping clients, what are some of the more common things that you notice are filling up those barrels?
Number one, toxins. Our environment is full of toxins that haven't been there a few hundred years ago. Some of them are not only the antibiotics that are well known, but the pesticide, the herbicides, the heavy metals, and all the processed food additives that we have introduced in the food chain in the last 100 years without proper testing. And of course, when the GMO comes up and all the glyphosate, which is really an antibiotic and disturbs the gut microbiome, it makes it just worse. That's number one, toxicity. But the body is made to detox, but not all that barrage that we are getting nowadays. It often overwhelms us. Stress can be a toxin in a way. It is certainly very important to manage your stress, set priorities, have a purpose, and don't worry all the time don't sweat the little stuff, as we say. Mm-hmm. Nutrition, of course, is very important. And I believe that there has to be some kind of supplementation often. For one, nobody can afford or eat all the time 100%. And for two, because of the agriculture and the toxins, the nutrients in the food have diminished, even in the organic food. And for three, the medications and toxins that we face hinders the absorption and disturbs the gut. And we need the gut to function. So that's a very important part of what I do, is finding out what's really going on. Are there deficiency in trace minerals? Are there nutrient deficiencies? What about the absorption of the amino acids? What about the absorption of fats? Are they eating enough of the right fats?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that's kind of, the other side of it is, how do we make that spout bigger? How do we let those things flow through the barrel so they're not building up?
Yeah.
So really important what we eat, how we think, and what we're putting in on our bodies. And the supplementation, are there any things that you find are more deficient, or is that very specific to each individual?
I always call it's an orchestra of the nutrition and the supplements. And if you want to hear a symphony in an orchestra, go into a concert and want to hear a symphony, you don't just listen to the first violinist. You want the whole orchestra. So you do need all different nutrients. So you need to optimize your nutrition as much as you can. And the supplement that most people nowadays need are a good multivitamin with trace minerals. Vitamin D is very important, even though some don't think so. But it is, and there's levels that you can do, and it's important because all the fat-soluble vitamins can be overdosed. So you can't just take as much vitamin D as you like. You might make it toxic. Magnesium is very commonly deficient. Trace minerals are very commonly deficient. Omega-3s are very commonly deficient because we eat so much more omega-6s. We do need some omega-6 to 9, but we need a balance. Zinc is often deficient, but zinc and copper have to be balanced. So it's really a balance between, and a dance between the nutrients. It has to be adjusted properly. Some people need copper. For other people, copper is toxic. It's fascinating.
It is. It's not simple.
No, I could talk for hours and hours going on, but I won't.
Absolutely. Well, certainly we'll have all of your contact information in our show notes as well, so that people who do want to dig a little bit deeper will be able to check out your website and maybe see a little bit more of some of the readings and writings that you have posted on there. One of your websites is also the Depression Expert. So we didn't talk a lot about mental health in this segment, but is that a large percentage of the people who come to you for health coaching, or more do you find still physical health and maybe the mental health side doesn't see the link as quickly to some of these nutritional pieces?
What I see is that mental health is just one side of what I call the depression triangle. I'm actually just writing a book with that title, because we have the physical aspects that contribute to depression, like a disturbed gut microbiome, a disturbed absorption of nutrients, disturbed brain chemistry. Then we have the mental part, what often is addressed in mental health. Then we have the spiritual part, which is sometimes addressed, but the physical part gets most often neglected. All that is done for it is give some medications, which changes the brain chemistry, but does not address the root issues.
That is a unique perspective for sure, and hopefully one that will help a lot of people, because that is certainly a challenge, and may perhaps be, as we study that further, one of the reasons why there has been a rise in some of these depressive and anxiety and
ADHD. I firmly believe that it's not just the stress, not just the thought patterns. That is all important. But the physical aspects, the toxicities, the malabsorption, the malnutrition that we are having. Yes, we get fatter and fatter, but we are still malnourished. It's hard to believe, but we are. And to find that is often detective work. I love to do detective work. I've learned that in the allergy part. And there's food intolerances, food sensitivities, and of course, probiotics are important. I often recommend them, but they have to be the right kind with enough strains.
Absolutely. One thing that our listeners may find interesting is you do have a book on Amazon, and we'll have the links in there as well, called Eating for Vibrant Health and Explosive Energy. So that may give people some of those fundamental pieces around maybe looking at their current menu or things that they could change. Who is this book really written for?
I really wrote it for my clients because I always get the question, yes, I know I should eat all organic or biodynamic, but it's not available. I can't afford it. I have to work. I have to travel. So that's why I wrote that little book that actually shows them what's ideal to eat, what's acceptable if you can't get the ideal food or can't afford it, and what you really should avoid for your own health and energy.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that'll help a lot of people. So we are coming up close to the end of our time. We have a few minutes left. Who do you think are the people who should reach out to someone like yourself? What kind of people could you help the most if you had to choose sort of a key offering?
The people that are most attracted to me and that I truly can help is people with mental health issues, of course, that are in a state where they are able to change. So the acute stage should be over. Well, I can do suicide intervention, but it's not my specialty. And the more symptoms, they have this here, they have an aches, they have bloating, they have aches and pains, they feel tired, down in the dumps a lot. Those are the ones, when I do the assessment, I find the root issue and they get back to health if they follow the advice and do the work.
Absolutely. So yes, that is the key. No one from the outside can change those things. They really are a decision that people come to, and they have to do the work themselves.
Right. And it's important also, which you know, as a chiropractor, to adjust the nervous system so that functions properly and doesn't have blockages. It's the same that acupuncture and Chinese medicine address blockages in the qi, the life energy.
Absolutely. It is a multifaceted thing. We try to make it simple for people to get started, but the more you dig, often the more you realize just how tangled all of these pieces are. And as part of this wonderful complex whole that we are as human beings, we are certainly not simple.
We are not simple and we are all individuals. Mm-hmm. When you consider the gut bacteria are different even in identical twins.
Absolutely.
Everybody's different and medicine should not go to standard treatments all the time.
So we have just a couple of minutes left. Is there some final message or comment or something that you want to share with our audience? We have we're a hair below 1 million people who listen to us now, and it's an opportunity to leave some special thought with them.
The special thought I want to leave with everybody is really not to give up. Search for your answers. If you need to connect with me, I'm happy to help. Go to my website, DocChristine, DocChristine.com, and book a free appointment and we can get talking. I'd be happy to help. I'm really here to help people get well again.
Thank you. Thank you, DocChristine. Thanks for joining me this week. I really appreciate us having this conversation and sharing your expertise with our listeners. Thanks to everyone who has joined us to listen in this week on Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. As always, we hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed taking some time to chat with DocChristine today. So for those of you who think there's someone you know who might benefit from this information or maybe isn't a listener yet to Beyond Your Wildest Genes, of course, please feel free to share. This is a free podcast through iTunes or, of course, on our website, beyondyourwildestgenes.com. And while you're on the website, register for our weekly newsletter as well. We do send out a written newsletter once a week with physical, chemical, and emotional pieces that can help guide you towards some other resources or some other ideas that may be helpful as you continue your journey to your best wellness. So thanks again for listening. And if you like what you hear, please leave us a review on iTunes. It's much appreciated. It does help us reach more people. And we thank you very much for sharing our passion to create a healthier world. I appreciate you for joining us next week. Talk soon.
Get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8.